I swear, if I had a lady in my life, I'd be living in an apartment close by, most likely in a place where the rent is exorbitantly high and I can't afford it. Man, if I had a woman in my life, as I sit here in my dormitory with the curtains drawn, my entire universe right now is contained within the confines of my tiny little cube. Because the only pieces of furniture I already have in this room are a bed and a chair that were provided by the school. Purchasing additional pieces of furniture would be a waste of money for me. The only pieces of furniture I currently have in this room were provided by the school. In addition to everything else that was expected of me, I would be taking her out on dates in addition to my other responsibilities, while I was also attending school and working. What am I going to do with the time I have? No, I don't think I'm capable of failing. No, if I worked toward achieving my goals, would I be successful? No, you wouldn't be able to accomplish those things. In any case, aside from that, will I be able to strike out on my own and become an entrepreneur once I have completed my education? Will I be able to tell her that I want to jump out of bed, get in my car, and spend the next 2 years living in a national or state park? Canoeing, reading, growing your own food, and leading an independent lifestyle are some examples. I'm not sure. No, there is not a single one of these things that I am capable of doing. Could I possibly fail? Could I risk fail? No, I would not be able to do any of these things. For example, I would not be able to go and rent an apartment in a beautiful part of the nation just for the sake of living there and not to establish my profession there because she expects me to know it. I would not be able to do any of these things. If I wanted her approval and if I wanted the approval of society, I needed to do better. If I wanted the approval of her parents and the rest of her family, I would have to settle down into the one profession that is required of me, the one that ensures that I would always have a job. And if I wanted to earn her approval, I would have to focus my efforts solely on that one line of work when I did it now. If I were to immediately take care of all of the outstanding duties I have, I would have approximately 8 months remaining before I graduate. There is no requirement for me to take those steps. I'm not concerned about my professional future. Therefore, I am able to give my full attention to both my studies and my current position. Despite the fact that I am free to act, I kindly ask that you understand that I am unable to participate in activities of this kind. While there is a female present in the dwelling, because your life, your balls, and your pocketbook are all up for grabs, she has the ability to cause you to go bankrupt. But she does not have any options available to help you get out of that dilemma today during this hooded session, males. Therefore, since number 1 is very important to me, and it's just in my character, then I'm going to talk about why not dating and dealing with women gives you with the best possible opportunities for success. It is possible to lead a nomadic existence while still dwelling in the neighborhood of your dreams if you are able to uncover the golden equation, also known as being able to take the greatest level of risk while suffering the least amount of consequence. Many men make the decision to abandon their nomadic lifestyles, only to find that their partners eventually force them to adopt more traditional roles. In today's environment, where travel is becoming more accessible at lower costs and work can be carried out remotely, I think that this phenomenon is even more obvious than it was in the past. Due to the fact that more men have come to this knowledge, there are more opportunities for this, and more men have the desire to engage in it. On the other side, some women are engaged in this conduct, and they are actually taking advantage of a large number of guys in order to date them, in order to attain these things. They do this so that they can get these things, since they have already been tamed by Mother Nature. In addition, they are more likely to remain in one location because they are required to be at home in order to care for their children. The majority of women have a naturally domesticated disposition. This, however, is not possible because of the requirement to remain at home in order to care for a child. Extremely infrequently can you combine these two things. For example, I dated for around 4 months last year when I was still in a region of the United States that I do not intend to make my permanent home. Rather, my objective is to get in, get out as quickly as possible. This is because my plan is to get in, get out. And you will not be around after that. When I finished school and the woman came along, she insisted that it was necessary for me to remain in her hometown after we met. This was because she didn't want to leave it, and didn't want to leave her family without at least me seeing the area, which I didn't want to do because I didn't want any part of that. I didn't want any part of that because I didn't want any part of that. And because the same thing might have been stated about my first ex-boyfriend, you should be aware that I was attending a college in the Midwest during the time in question. Although the state offers a low cost of living and a variety of different job paths that are viable, It does not have the same amount of life or vibrancy as other locations that I was interested in calling home. Because her family still resided in the state, it does not even possess the same level of natural beauty as the other locations. Those things that were ticking in her head that were going biologically, thank goodness, such as the comforts, the protection, and the ability to raise a family if that was something that I wanted to do in EMS severe ties with both of them. And one of the key motivating factors behind my wish to go was that voice in our thoughts that many of us are familiar with. Males have the expectation that you would be limited within the confines of the state. In many of the MGTOW videos that I've watched, the male members have talked about their former relationships and marriages. The majority of them have been divorced, and they will say things like, "Man, I just really feel like getting up and leaving right now. This makes me feel like I have to do it right away. Even if it's only a couple hours away, I just want to live in a new location, like I said before. I want to be free on my own." There is a very clear link between the two. I see this occurring. I'm practically eager to do it. Even if it's only a few hours away, I want to move to a different location. I desire my independence. It's really usual to feel this way immediately following a breakup, and I can state with certainty that it was one of the emotions I felt. And men, unless you have a lady, you likely do not have a home. Your residence is your intellect. It depends on where you wish to be at the time. I cannot count the number of times I have spontaneously driven across the nation, flown to see my sister, or driven from the East Coast to Kansas City. When you don't have a woman, it's likely that you don't have a house since, in gay relationships, your home must be where a woman is. And because this circumstance becomes even more challenging for someone who goes on to have children, this was conducted without a woman present. Now that you have children, you want to tighten security even further. Obviously, some of the men you know will cut them off completely and abandon them. But if you are one of the fortunate few who earns enough to avoid paying alimony, you are in a favorable situation. You will likely be compelled to remain in the region until you know for certain that your children have reached the age of majority if you want them to continue attending the same school system, or if the courts want you to do so that your ex can have visiting privileges. I've considered living in a truck for a year following college graduation. After all, there are about 7 billion individuals doing the same thing in the world. What difference will it make if a few men do something different, go traveling and vanish? I've given it considerable consideration. To tell you the truth, it will not cause any harm. If you want to expand your horizons, you should spend a year living in an RV or van. Why not be that person and do something unusual? Okay, what I'm saying is that it will not cause any harm. If you desire to do so, perhaps someone would find your story interesting. If you have been homeless for the previous 10 years and have shattered all conventional conceptions about middle-class living and home ownership, as well as the fabled real estate market built by and for women, you may be eligible for housing assistance. And number 2, you can fail and take risks without nearly all of the repercussions. So a further advantage is that you can also be an entrepreneur, which is something I've always had an itch for. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I believe that the desire to create is shared by a vast majority of guys. And I feel that many men constantly want to create. And I believe that males are the creators, therefore this is to be expected. However, the most essential takeaway from this is that failure is conceivable. If you do not have a girlfriend or children to support, and you choose to pursue a career in the startup industry, you will be accountable for the repercussions of your failure, but you do not need to worry about the opinions of others, because you have the ability to choose how you will respond to the inevitable consequences. You are aware of the repercussions, and you choose to accept them. This is far simpler to accept than the uncertainty of a lady leaving you because you failed. If you fail, you may only discover that you have lost your financial investment at work. In addition, you lose the financial investment you made in your wife throughout the courtship, engagement ring, and marriage phases. You lose on all fronts, and you may be required to pay either alimony or child support, all because you merely took a chance and failed in business. Do you believe that the majority of wives will be helpful during these financially difficult times? No, the vast majority will not, and instead they will perceive that your loyalty lies with money and business. Do you believe that most wives will be supportive during these financially trying times? Unless, of course, it's a business in which a couple is working together. Unless, of course, it's a business and that she'll leave you if things don't work out, especially if she's advised you to get a good job or real job. As long as she makes the comment once, regardless of when it is made, she is permitted to do so. And if things don't work out, she will leave you, especially if she recommended you to get a good job or genuine employment during this period. She will maintain her position until you fail. And if you fail, it will be stored in a cage. If you do not fail, you are aware that it will be forgotten. But if you fail, it will be held as proof, similar to what Potter's wife did when she held onto the cloak, which was a false piece of evidence. For here, she may exploit your unsuccessful business as negligent neglect, and I've had boyfriends who disapprove of my gym-going interest on numerous occasions. Consequently, I now go to the gym frequently, and when I'm there, I'm working out and improving, not just for myself, but also because, during my blue pill days, I really wanted to look good for her. But you are aware that she would interpret this as infidelity. As you spend countless hours establishing business relationships, acquiring investors, and establishing the structure of your firm, you may be regarded as cheating on her. You have been dishonest throughout the whole of this procedure. This also applies to the guy who isn't making a lot of money from a startup, and it also applies to you if you're making a YouTube channel for fun on the side. You don't have the time for this, and it's a waste of time that you could be using to earn money and save for the kids. Maybe you do some carpentry on the side, or maybe you work on people's automobiles. In any case, you won't have the time for this, but you continue to do it because you find it interesting. And you know that if you continue working in it, you will eventually be able to leave your slave job and pursue a more joyful, self-employed profession in the future. Therefore, if you intend to do this with a spouse or a girlfriend, you will certainly experience an excessive level of stress. Not only tangible objects, there will be additional intangibles, such as tension, that you will carry. And this is likely to hinder your success in a future startup. Therefore, if you want to do this with your spouse or girlfriend, you should be prepared to carry an excessive amount of stress. Additionally, it will make you more risk-averse. This is typically undesirable. And it may hinder you from investing additional funds in the strategy or new product that might have enabled you to expand. You never know where you will have the opportunity to grow. Therefore, it is essential to be ready for anything. The third item is simply, guys, what do you want to do? You can choose something enjoyable. Okay, you can work a part-time job. You can cut it down to 20 hours a week if you're smart. If you live in an inexpensive portion of the country, if you save, if you live very frugally, and if you want to have the time to do something else. And I know a significant number of men my age who have already settled for slave labor. I don't even know if they're married or dating, and perhaps they have college loans to repay. However, the truth is that a significant number of men have no idea why they choose the safe job path. And I believe much of it is unconscious. I believe this is largely due to the societal pressures and conventions that have been established for men who are supposed to be upstanding citizens. It's a career path you might have saved. You acquire enough money, you sell up for a ring, and you get that home payment, struggle for that. Then you caught a woman stealing your money. These folks are worthy of commendation. Yes, they are, it's true. And when you place them in the presence of a group of females, that group of girls fawns over them and compares them to you until they find a single flaw in them. And when in reality they are not only a slave to ladies, but also a slave to the government, okay? They are a slave to society. They do not truly understand what it means to be free. If they are working out of fear, there is no need for you to do so as well. And you can delight yourself by playing ridiculous video games. If you want to work 20 hours a week, you should be aware that our subconscious is in overdrive in many situations, including major decisions such as college enrollment and employment. And we try to secure the closest and most convenient employment we could find. Because you are aware that we have no idea why we do it. Due to the fact that our programming is programmer programming, it was suggested that we complete this task as quickly as possible in order to grab that girl and remain safe. Because believe me, you'll need more than a handful of loans from her. You should not hurry either. You can take your time, do what you wish, have fun, take your time, and still get at your destination. You can not only fail, you can not only go and do what you want without a woman, and you can not only do what you want without a woman, brother-in-law of my sister's husband. I've mentioned him several times, and despite being married, he still exhibits characteristics of a man who watches too much television. In order to make ends meet after graduating from college, he bought and sold couches online and hired a public storage unit. He held this position for some time in the past. This was the only action he took. Undeniably, it was a poor status indicator. He wasn't attracting any women, and he presumably wasn't making much money either. However, he had a great deal of free time. Moreover, guess what? Speculate where he is currently. Acceptable, this guy took his time, maintained his independence, married late, and has no apparent desire to have children. He has been employed by two big American technology companies. However, I will not reveal where in the country he is. In both of these positions, he has been earning over $100,000. Yes, he already has an Excel spreadsheet titled Retired 45, in case you were wondering. Likewise, you can do this if you still have the chance. And even if you're beyond this time, there are so many different ways you can improve your life. Start a new passion at any age, and embark on a new route at any age, since that's the world we live in today. Opportunities are constantly available. Sometimes, if you have a small amount of capital, you can do everything you want, and you might proceed slowly with your career. And even pursuing a job if you don't want a lady you know to use the fast-forward button on your life, because of the reason why, because she will snap her fingers as she pushes the fast-forward button, but not the rewind or stop button. But not now, dude. If there are no fast-forward buttons, she will jam all 4 of her fingers on the button, because she will jam all 4 of her fingers on the button. Additionally, if you have any business stories, personal travel anecdotes, or travel-related information to contribute, please do so. Therefore, gentlemen, enjoy your interests today and tomorrow, and work towards a job or long-term endeavor that you otherwise would not have had the chance to develop due to the risk of dating a lady and paying for her. To help us, please watch this video. Please subscribe and send this video to anybody you think will benefit from it the most.